live, but we're
buddy,
officially live. All right, boys and girls, a little bit late tonight, but the show started without the intro music. I pressed the wrong button. It's going to be a show.
son of a bitch.
Yeah, here we are, live and in person. Here's the read. If you're if you're watching, it's the off season. If you're watching us live on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed and set an alert for future shows. If you're listening as a podcast, please make sure you're listening and subscribed on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to get your notifications for future episodes the minute we upload them. We are also going to put the show up live on Instagram or whatever it's called, Instagram Live, in a couple minutes here. You can follow along at Jim Ike HW. We prefer you watch on YouTube. And while you're over there, give us a like and a subscribe or whatever it is that we ask you guys to do. Because I guess it helps get us in front of more eyes and ears. So if you guys could give us a hand in that way, that'd be great. We got obviously we're going to talk Stanley Cup playoffs. And I'm excited to talk playoffs. Last week, Jack, I wasn't so much excited because the first round was kind of, I found it. I was putting it on just to kind of fall asleep to more than I was like, let's see who's playing tonight. Obviously, this past weekend with the game sevens was a lot of fun. And, right off the bat in the first, 1 or 2 games of the second round, we have a double overtime game. We have, guys flying through the air trying to kill each other. And we're going to discuss that, the Trouba hit at some point in the show. Hey, Ty Shelton checking in.
Hey, yo.
What's up, Ty? So, obviously we're going to talk playoffs. We're going to talk Matvei Michkov, who, we're all excited to talk about. He was deadlifting. Did you see the picture, Jack?
Of course I did.
What did you think? Well, how was his form?
I honestly do not care. It was the Flyer shirt he was wearing. That is all I cared about. He loves this team, and he's going to be the next big thing. I don't give a shit what he's deadlifting.
Yeah. He was wearing Flyers t-shirt, which, got everybody all buzzed up and, that's fine. But the first thing I saw, the first thing I thought when I see a picture like that was, oh, that's cool. He's wearing a Flyers t-shirt while he's working out. Like, I do that. We do that almost every. I was going to post a picture of myself in a Flyers t-shirt doing a deadlift. Like, come on. Like, I know everyone's excited, but it's definitely the off season, isn't it, Jack? When people are getting excited for that.
Well, it's more so that video, like, unless you were critiquing his lifting, was more so like, oh, he's coming over. July 1, he'll be here. Like, people were making that connection. And look, I'll definitely say the percentage is a little bit higher that he comes over sooner than the 3 years we were told. But like, to just draw the conclusion, like, there's people convinced like he's playing for Flyers next year, like 2024, 2025, he'll be starting top line right winger. Like, I'm like, you got that from a deadlifting video? Like, I not me. So like, anything that comes out about him, because you had the report before that, and it's just more adding to, like, he's coming sooner rather than later. And it's like, look, you're dealing with Russia. I would not jump to those conclusions. Be excited. Don't be delusional. Unless I'm wrong, but I'll eat that crow all day long if he's here and I said, don't, buy into the hype. Okay, big deal. So that's what's been going on in this offseason.
Yeah, it's, Flyers aren't in the playoffs, and I'm just having a hell of a time uploading this show to Instagram right now. So kind of bear with me a second. This is a lot of fun. Oh, here we go.
Got it.
Scheduled start right now. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's something. And maybe it's, part of it's Michkov sort of playing to the Philly faithful, and maybe he's letting everybody know as simple as can be that he's excited to be a Flyer. And I know that I say all the time I'm anti-fun, and I don't really I don't have it in me to get excited for no reason anymore. You know what I mean? And that kind of just seemed like, what are we doing here? And we had people, judging his form. We had people judging their form, and it's like, oh my God, man. give me a break with this stuff, would you? Like, go to work. Don't you people work? Christ. But anyways, at some point in the show, we're going to talk NHL draft. The lottery was yesterday. Flyers are picking 12th, just in case, people didn't know that by now. And it's an okay spot to pick in. Obviously, I think there are people out there that were upset that the Flyers didn't, kind of tank this year and get a bottom 5 pick. And, in my eyes, Jack, there are 2 players that are real, standout potential stars in this draft. Macklin Celebrini and Ivan Demidov, right? Those are the 2 really special offensive players that you get them bona fide top line guys, potential stars, Celebrini, I think, is no brainer. He's going to be, so Celebrini, I don't know if he's going to be superstar, but how can I explain it? Like Patrice Bergeron. Was Patrice Bergeron a superstar in your eyes, Jack?
Well,
one of the best centers in the league, right? But
yeah, but like for different reasons than when you say you think a superstar. It's hard for a guy that good defensively. Oh, he's a superstar. But like if you add up like his impact on a very good team, I would say yes. But I understand the point you're making when we're talking about these guys, because he wasn't even a first rounder, I don't believe. So when you're thinking of these guys here, you're thinking of franchise caliber players. So yeah, that's I see what you're getting at.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So the Flyers, like I said, picking at 12, and we had a little bit of a discussion earlier today in our group chat that between 3 and like 12-ish, 3 and 13-ish, it's kind of a mismatch. You go out and look at all kinds of different mocks, and you'll see 100 different mocks, with 9 players in different positions from 3 to 12, 3 to 13, whatever it is. It's kind of a pick your flavor of what kind of player do you want on your team, right? After Celebrini, I'll tell you, for me, anyways, there's not a center in this draft that I'm like, gotta have him. Obviously there's Konsta Helenius out there. Some people still think Berkeley Catton's a center. I'm missing Caden Lindstrom, who's a big Canadian kid, supposed to go top 5. Flyers don't have a shot to take him, but after Celebrini, Jack, there's not a center in this draft that I'm like, yeah, let's trade up to get him. There's a lot of defense, and there's some wings. TJ Ginla is a guy that might come to mind, listed as a left winger. Berkeley Catton, I mentioned as a center. I think it's going to be a wing in the NHL. There's a lot of defense. So we'll talk draft in a little bit here. I guess what I want to talk about right off the bat, Jack, is we kind of got to catch up with playoffs a little bit. First rounds are done. I think you and I tied in the series. And do you have the bracket in front of you by any chance?
I mean, I can tell you who I took.
Yeah.
I took the Jets. That was an L. I took Dallas. That was barely a W. I took Edmonton.
Great series.
Yeah, I took Edmonton and Vancouver. So
okay.
3 out of 3 and 1 3 out of 4 in the West. In the East, I took the Tampa Bay Lightning, so that's an L. I took I honestly can't. I think I took Toronto. I'm not 100% sure on that.
No, you took Boston. I remember.
I took Boston. Okay.
Yep.
And then I definitely took the Rangers and Carolina because they were playing. Those series were a joke. So not bad. I think I only lost 2 if that's the case.
Yeah, and I think we tied.
Where'd you beat me, Jim?
So the only other series, so I went 3 and 1 in the East.
You took out. Did you take the Avalanche?
I took the Avalanche. Yep.
That's what it was.
Okay. Went 3 and 1 in the East. Obviously, I have no idea why we picked Tampa Bay. I think we just wanted
because we wanted the first round pick. Yeah.
Yeah. The Dallas series I was a little afraid of because I picked Dallas to go all the way to the Cup. So if they went out in first round of Vegas, my bracket would have been wrecked after round 1.
And they were down 2-0 in that series too. So thank God.
Plus
screw Vegas.
Yeah, screw Vegas. Hurdle looked tired in that one. They're gonna be back next year.
LTIR was just didn't have it this year. So
Nah,
they're out in the first round.
Didn't have it. Vancouver, I think, for me, was the most surprising team in the West. And I know that's kind of silly to say. They've been, probably one of the best teams out West all year. But they were without Demko. Casey DeSmith got hurt somewhere in that series. Yep. They were with their third-string rookie goaltender, Artur Silovs, I think is how you say his last name. And they take it to Nashville, put him out in 6 games, and advance to play Edmonton in round 2, an all-Canadian second round there. It's going to be a hell of a series. And in the other bracket, obviously, we have Dallas, Colorado. Jack, how do you see these series going between Dallas, Colorado, and Vancouver, Edmonton?
Well, Colorado looks a lot better than I thought they would. I have Dallas going to the finals as well, potentially winning. I can't remember. I think I do. And they jump up 3-0 on the Avalanche in game 1 and lose that game 4-3. So are you kidding me? So I hope they learn from that, but don't take Colorado lightly. That's for sure. They won a cup for a reason. They got the superstar studs. If their goaltending can hold up, they could go all the way. Sean Walker was a great pickup, as was Casey Middlestat. So that's going to be tough. Another tough matchup for Dallas. So we'll see how that one goes. I think that could go 7, at least 6 games. And I'm a little nervous for Dallas. I do, however, think that Edmonton should handle Vancouver. That's my personal feelings on that one. I think you see that in 5 or 6 games, 6 being generous. But I'm going with Vancouver, and I have Vancouver. I have Dallas over Vancouver going into the final. So Dallas over Edmonton going into the final. I take Edmonton to take care of Vancouver. The one thing I wanted to mention about the Vancouver-Nashville series was I didn't realize you had 2 what's the hell's the name of the coach? Jack Adams candidates going against each other there. And I think Tocchet's going to win it for sure. I think he's going to run away with it, but I didn't even realize that. Nashville had such a strange year. They're a team that I always think is going to blow it up in the offseason, and then they wind up, they're in the playoff. They were in the President's Trophy race at one point. Like it just makes no sense, but yeah, so it's interesting. I definitely expect Edmonton to be there. I don't know about that other series, though. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun second round. I mean, you have 2 high-scoring teams like the Avalanche and the Oilers. Like you said, you have 2 Jack Adams coaches going against each other, and Tocchet and Knobloch. And it sounds crazy to say that. I feel like we can't even consider Knobloch because of McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman. But this team had to come back from an early season deficit to make the playoffs. If you remember back, they fired their coach within the first 10, 15 games, I think it was. McDavid was hurt. So I think, Knobloch, should get a little look-see. Tocchet, I feel like Tocchet's whole thing started the end of last year. Remember, Vancouver was really bad, and I forget when they brought Tocchet in, but he kind of started turning them around at some point last season, and they kind of hit the ground running this year. So not that it was expected for them to be what they are now, but the work was already kind of put in for them to turn around this season. It's going to be a hell of a series, though. Let's knock out the East real quick. Eastern Conference, we have Florida, Boston, a rematch of last year's first round. Florida knocked out Boston, if you remember last year. I think Boston was up 3-1 in that series, and Florida knocked off the best regular season team in NHL history in 7 games. The other series, we have the New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes. Jack, who do you got in these ones?
Well, I got the Hurricanes going to the Cup, so that's looking bleak. Down 2-0 already. Plus, I hate the Rangers, and I really hate their fans, but this is what it is. I was watching game 2. I watched the third period. I watched this end of the second, the third period, and both overtimes, and I was like, man, come on. Why? Just why? But I don't know. Hopefully, and I also really wanted to see the Avalanche, the Hurricanes at least go to the Cup, if not win the Cup. For all that speculation about not signing Brind'Amour and pulling that offer, I think that's come to a resolution, at least a little bit. Like it was overblown. But let's not forget, Carolina's owner has been notoriously cheap. He's notoriously cheap. Never pays his GMs, lets people go, moves things around. I understand if you want to be smart with the cap, but you can pay coaches whatever you want. Why wouldn't you pay this guy? Brind'Amour has openly said, I want to be here. I only want to coach for this team. Like, Jesus Christ. So if he wins the cup and you don't sign him and then he wins the cup, you really got to pony up the dough. Otherwise, you're gonna look like an ass if he walks. So I kind of do like that, but it might not be as serious anymore. But yeah, they're down 2-0 deficit, which blows because I hate the Rangers. The idea of a Rangers-Boston Eastern Conference Finals makes me want to just jump off my roof. Like, I mean, that is just a lesser of two evils. I guess I'll take Boston in that scenario, but like, I'm really, really hoping that's not the case.
Yeah, and me too. And so I had I forget if I think I have Carolina beating the Rangers and I have Boston beating Florida. Ultimately, I have Boston going to the Cup and winning the Cup. And I think that could you imagine, Jack, Boston winning the Cup with Charlie Coyle, Pavel Zacha as 1 and 2?
That would kind of piss me off, to be honest with you. But like, I guess culture goes a long way. If that's the case. You have a winning culture. You come in, you have players come from other teams that weren't necessarily winning. Remember, Zacha was with a pretty bad Devils team, and he was a top pick. He was picked before Provorov in that draft, so like 6th overall. And he was kind of like he might have been an NHL player, but for where he was drafted, he was looking like a bust. So to come into Boston and be that, just for that team, for what they lost, to be where they're at is impressive. You got to give credit to the goaltending, the coaching, and they do have some great players on that team, but they're not the team they used to be. So that would be something.
That's for sure. Yeah. I'm surprised. I think I expected more from Florida right out of the gate. They had some time to rest. And I mean, you kind of saw it in the other series too. Actually, the opposites happened. Dallas, I think they were up 3-0, but only finished the game with like less than 20 shots, something like that. Whereas Colorado, with the rest, they kind of got it going as the game went on. And that's kind of what I was expecting in the Florida-Boston series, but Boston kind of just looked locked in game 1. And with Swayman back there, he's playing lights out. I think he's going to take them all the way to the Cup. Now, it's going to be interesting when they get to teams like Carolina potentially, and then you have Colorado out west. It'll be interesting when they go against some of these high-power offenses. But we'll see. Swayman's locked in. Other series, Carolina, New York. I hate the Rangers, but what's his name over there? Shesterkin's doing the same thing over there. That game went to second game went to double overtime. And, in my mind, I'm like, whoever wins this game could potentially go on to win the series. That's a massive momentum shift if Carolina can win that second game in New York heading into Carolina. And they lost.
My worry, not to jump in because I watched so much of that game too. The Rangers did a really good job of shutting down Carolina later in that game, of forcing a lot of bad low percentage shots, all from the outside, Shesterkin's not going to give anything up. And if they can do that the rest of the series is over. Because I don't know if Anderson can only do so much for Carolina. And it looked a shame. Aho looked very frustrated at times later in that game. And it just seemed like they're outmatched to an extent. Yes, they made some better deadline acquisitions, I thought, with Yentzel and Kuznetsov and what have you. But the Rangers added little guys. They already had top dogs, so they added little guys here and there. Like Roslovic, I always liked him in Columbus and even Winnipeg. And they added Wenberg, I believe, it was another guy they added. Just good depth pieces that I know Wenberg blocked a hell of a shot during that overtime. Just completely disrupted a play. And if you got those guys contributing to what they already have, and if, God forbid, Capo, and we already seen their other guy, what the hell is their other name of their other guy, their other top pick, start to come alive this season. He definitely hurt the Flyers. Their first overall pick.
Lafreniere?
Yeah, thank you, Lafreniere. I don't slip my mind. Those guys start to come a long way along with you. Already have Kreider, Panarin, Zibanejad, Fox, like Christ. Like they're going to, and we already talked about Shesterkin in that defense. That they're a pretty complete team. And you got I think Laviolette's the perfect coach for them. The defense and the goaltending will take care of themselves, and he gets the forwards doing what they got to do. They're already up 2-0 in this series. I think should start. They're 6-0. They have not lost a playoff game. Like, that's shit. You know what I mean? Like, I hate that. I absolutely hate that. They need to go. Somebody needs to step up, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, they're winning. The Knicks are winning. It has potential to be in both sports conference finals, Boston versus New York in each. And
wow,
as much as I hate the Rangers, part of me would like to see that, Boston versus New York in basketball and in hockey, as long as both New York teams lose. I mean, I hate Boston too. I think that they're like Philly, but I hate New York with a passion. And if anybody needed a perfect example why, if you watched that Sixers series and you saw the way New York fans were after winning 1 and 2 games and coming down here and acting the way that they were, the reason I hate with a passion New York teams is their fans. I can't stand New Yorkers. I hate them. If the Rangers were from any other city, I might actually like them.
Yeah.
But I can't. And this is why I've always hated them more than Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh fans, they've always kind of been like wishy-washy. They like the team when they're winning, but they were never assholes. They were more just annoying. Like New Yorkers are just assholes. Like, they're complete trash.
And they're clueless, which makes it worse. Like, I hate to bring it up, but I have friends of mine who are New Yorkers. And when the Rangers were starting to build, I'm filling them in. Like, I like talking hockey, so it's not a problem. But I'm telling them what they're doing. I remember talking about Panarin. I'm like, yeah, it's not very often you sign a guy like this in free agency to your team. Like, that is absolutely huge. And, oh, by the way, you got this Russian kid and Net coming over. He looks amazing. You know what I mean? Like, and then they asked me to explain the Adam Fox situation. I'm like, yeah, he said he'd only play for the Rangers. So anybody say model your rebuild after the Rangers, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Because right. How are you going to a Vezina goaltender from Russia? Okay, that's possible. But a Norris winning defenseman saying, he's been with 2 other teams saying I'll only go to this team. So they get him for peanuts. And then, Panarin's sitting in free agency because he got traded to Columbus and was going to hit free agency the second his contract was up. They made sure they had the money. They're New York. Give them that. They are New York. Boom. Yeah, and you cannot model your rebuild after that nonsense. It's not their fault. I'm just saying, but people bring that up and it irks me.
Oh, yeah.
So, but again, I'm explaining this. Now they're down my throat, these fans. Like, oh, the Rangers are the greatest of all time. I'm like, you could not name their second line center right now. I know you can't. Like, and then I'm watching that game. The first 6 rows, suits. Like, true fans right there. Yeah, just suits. And it's like, okay, yeah, whatever, pal. Enjoy the ride, I guess.
Yeah, they're gonna face a tough task in round 3. At least I hope, man, because I
hope they don't lose a game. Like, they're gonna be pretty well rested.
Like, I can live with Boston winning a cup, but New York will piss me off.
I'm numb to Boston winning championships. Like, it's just whatever. I really don't care. They're not a division rival. They're a rival, but they're not a division rival. It's different. No. New York and Philly, it's a whole nother ball game. And hopefully Trouba gives himself a concussion against the boards or something, and more shit like that. And you saw that Goldberg spear that he attempted, although it looked more like a flying elbow. He's a dirty fucking player, man. Jesus Christ. I never thought Trouba was that bad in Winnipeg. Holy cow, is he dirty.
I mean, nobody friggin' watched him in Winnipeg. Like, who watches the Jets, right? And then
valid point.
Now the spotlight's on him. And I feel like we're talking about a hit like this. I mean, really, he missed him. Not a hit. It's a hit attempt.
Near miss.
I feel like Trouba's in the news for shit like this, like every couple months, a season for the last few years now. And, I'm all for playing physical and aggression and, separating the guy from puck, separating the man from the puck, But, dude, like, there's a line, right? Like, it's a hockey. There's a hockey play. And then there's like, you're being an asshole, dude. Like, what are you trying to do here? Like, They're separating the man from the puck, and then they're separating the head from someone's body. Like, it's not worth it, you know? And yeah, so the hit yesterday or last night, he's obviously, he's trying to make a clean hit, right? The guy ducks and their skates hit. So his skates are kind of, catapulted into the air. All while this is going on, though, because he's going to miss, his elbow pops up.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I can assume innocence and say, okay, maybe his elbow pops up because he's getting ready to brace himself hitting the boards. But it pops up in the direction right where the guy's head would have been.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in that split second, he's not even thinking, I got to protect myself. He's thinking, I got to,
I'm taking somebody with me.
Yeah.
It's the GIF is funny because you see him literally come off screen. He's completely like airborne, but from the one angle, you can see his elbow go out like this. And it's like, cool. Jesus Christ, man. All you got to do is look at his history and know, he's clearly trying to hit the guy and most likely hurt him because he's just fucked up in the head. I mean, some people are like that. It is what it is. Like, we've had plenty of guys like that. It is what it is. Steve Downey, if you remember a preseason game back in 2006, 7, absolutely annihilated somebody from behind the net. Rules were a little different back then, but that shit still wasn't legal. If you don't know what I'm talking about, YouTube that. I get it. We've had players like that too, but Trouba has been with this team. Another addition they made, by the way, too. And he's just be scared on the ice with that guy. I'm like, dude, there's one thing when you have to fight a tough guy or deal with a tough guy, and then there's another thing we have to deal with somebody who's crazy. Because they're crazy, they'll do literally anything. They'll just grab at your groin and pull. They're nuts. The bite. Who knows? And he strikes me as a lot closer to that crazy side, where all of a sudden there's a skate, whizzing by your throat. Probably shouldn't have made that analogy with what happened this year, but I wasn't thinking until it was already out. But you get my point, though. These kind of guys make you nervous, and that play right there is a perfect example. He's coming in full steam. The play is a gone play, like you said. Naturally, a human would protect themselves, and he's like, "Who can I take down with me?" He's such a dirty fuck, dude. That's unbelievable. Put himself at risk to hurt somebody. Think about that.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like that's what he does, and I don't think he has the reputation that Tom Wilson does, but in my opinion, he's getting there. I almost have them in the same category. I don't think. I mean, Tom Wilson does, or he used to do a lot of stuff after the whistle that would piss people off and whatnot, like the Panarin thing a while back. I was just gonna say,
wasn't it in New York that he just absolutely somebody tapped him on the shoulder and he turned around and unloaded a sawed-off shotgun? Like, that's. I get what you're saying.
Like, Trouba's not unhinged like that. He's just an asshole.
But Trouba should be a top pairing defenseman. He's signed. I think he's making $8 million a year. He should be playing the game. Tom Wilson's out there to disrupt. If he got his point totals came from playing when Ovechkin was in his prime. When they were an offensive juggernaut. He is out there to disrupt, to protect his teammates, to do things of that nature. That's why he was always getting suspended and whatnot. You were afraid of him. He's a bigger guy. I get it. We've had players like that too. But Trouba is a different animal. Like, you're just like, you're a defenseman. You're a top defenseman. You're supposed to be one of the top guys on this team, contributing to the scoreboard, whether putting pucks in or keeping them off. And the stuff that he's doing is like, you really don't have to be doing this stuff. Like, Jesus Christ. You got Rempe for that stuff now. Like, let him handle that. You're out there trying to hurt people and shit. Like, he reminds me of like who's that player for the Golden State Warriors? He kicked people in the nuts.
Draymond Green.
Piece of shit. Like, complete, like, and they try to play it off like, oh, I can't help it. Like, yeah, you can. You're just an asshole. Like, nobody's body does that. And you've played against people like this growing up. I've been tackled, and the guy, like, playing football, I've been tackled, and like, as we're getting up, I'm getting shoved and the elbow's in my back. I'm like, what's all this extra fun after the tackle? Like, what's wrong with you? Those people they're screwed in the head. They have some kind of like complex or something. And he reminds me of a more talented Draymond Green for his role. Like, he just has to hurt people. I have to play my job, do what I do. And on the side, I like to hurt people, and that's, he's fucked up, dude. He is. And he does not have the reputation Tom Wilson has, but I do think they play different roles. So that is to be taken into account.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I'm all for clean hits, separating bodies from pucks and playoff hockey and all that. But I don't know. Maybe it's getting older or whatever. Because when I was younger, I'm all for that. Like, oh, you want to run through somebody, go for it. Like they should have their head up, or it's a contact sport, this and that. But I'm not sure what happened. Like, you hate seeing guys get hurt playing a game. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. We can make it as serious as we want to make it. They're playing a game. Yeah, they're getting paid millions of dollars. But to see a guy potentially concussed and potentially have his future and his life ruined and this and that, it really pisses me off to see guys run around like that. And there are people out there that will say, well, they signed up for this. It's a contact sport, this and that. And that's fine. You can have that opinion. I think it's bullshit. I used to think that way. So I'm talking to my younger self when I say that too. It's a bullshit way to think. You don't have to hurt people just because you're playing a contact sport. There's an art to it. You can separate bodies from pucks without trying to murder them. That's all I'm saying.
And I understand that they signed up for that. And I've said that myself, but that doesn't mean these assholes get off, without us talking about it or getting it out there, this reputation out there. So maybe the referees have a bigger eye. Like, yo, this guy's he's known for doing this shit. So let's keep a closer eye. Because the absolute worst case scenario, imagine Michkov's here and he's playing. He's in his first or second year, and this guy has a flying elbow, which we're using wrestling terms to describe his hits, by the way. A flying elbow, and Michkov has concussion issues for the rest of his career. Right. I don't want that shit. I still remember the Kasperitis hit against Lindros. You realize I didn't bring up Stevens because that pretty much ended his Flyers tenure. But when Kasperitis clocked him, that was the beginning of the end. And that's what I'm worried about the most. That's the stuff you have to really look out for. And that does not belong in the game, especially for no reason. At least then in the late 90s, that was more of the way the league was played. It ain't like that anymore. And the league goes out of their way to make sure it ain't played that way anymore. So seeing this kind of stuff going around, I don't want to see any New York favoritism or any of that bullshit here. They better, well, I don't want to go too far. It's still hockey at the end of the day. I'll just leave it at
that. All right. So who did we say? You have Dallas and Carolina in the cup. I have Dallas and Boston in the cup. We'll see. They're both in decent shape. Dallas is down 1-0 to Colorado. So we'll see how that series ends up playing out. I got the feeling, though, Jack, that people in the comments want to talk draft, believe it or not. And before we do that, because I want to talk potential draft picks too. The Phantoms are playing tonight. I don't know if we knew that or not. They're down 2-0 to the Hershey Bears, and they're up 2-0 in tonight's game. So, I think that's a best of 5. So this is a must-win game for the Phantoms tonight. And who did I see scored a goal real quick here? Box score. Ole Lixel has a goal and an assist. Bobby Brink has an assist. Cooper Marody has 2 assists. And Emil Andre has a goal tonight.
Is this in one game? What's the score?
2-0. So there's only 2 goals.
But
Lixel has
both
a goal.
For the Phantoms.
Both for the Phantoms.
It's do or die. It's only a 5-game series.
Yep. So they need that win.
What period's it in?
I think they're heading into the 3rd. I just X'd out. Yeah. So
I'm going to put that on after this.
Got to close them out there.
Oh, baby.
Okay. So what if I told you I had a trade scenario?
Ooh, my favorite.
That popped up on the app formerly known as Twitter. Let me just bring it up real quick here. But
wait, it's not okay, go ahead.
Mitch Marner was involved.
Oh, jeez.
And the Flyers were involved. And I want to know from obviously you and our friends in the comments if they would do this trade. And just say yes or no. Don't elaborate on why. I want to just see what the consensus is. So here's the trade. The Philadelphia Flyers get Mitch Marner. The Toronto Maple Leafs get Scott Lawton. This is a 3-team trade. So the Maple Leafs get Scott Lawton, Mario Ferraro, and San Jose's 2024 second-round pick. And the San Jose Sharks get Oliver Bonk. Now, let me tell you why. I mean, first of all, Jack, do you think this trade could potentially actually happen?
Never.
Okay. And I kind of think that it could.
I'll let you finish. I'm sorry.
It sounds like Toronto sounds like they're kind of getting not that great a return for Mitch Marner. I mean, Scott Lawton.
Destroyed.
Like, Mario Ferraro is a very good defenseman. He's a young guy. I want to say he's like 24 years old. He played in the top 4. I got to see if he's under contract or not. Like, why would they want him? And then San Jose's 2024 second. I'm not sure how that makes a lot of sense there for them. But, for San Jose, only giving up Ferraro in the 2024 second, getting Oliver Bonk, they make out pretty good. Flyers obviously make out pretty good getting a player of Mitch Marner's caliber, and a butterfly effect of that would be, where's Travis Konechny going to play next year? But we've talked in the past how the Flyers have an abundance of D, right? And they can't play them all, right? So who's going to be the odd man out, right? And in my opinion, Oliver Bonk's I'm not sure if he's getting overhyped, but
probably a little bit.
His numbers are not. They're not. How do I explain it? I'm not sure how he's
NHL comparable.
NHL. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like he's not going to put up. They're not going to use.
He's not going to play the bumper. Yeah.
So if the Flyers can, and I'm not even sure. Like, remember when they picked Bonk? We weren't all excited that they got Oliver Bonk. That's who we wanted. Right. Like, so if they can still move Bonk and somehow get a player like Marner, like, where do I sign? Right. What do you think?
So, look, I know people aren't Marner people. I'm not necessarily a Marner people. I agree with the compete. His comments about how we're treated like gods up here just came off like in poor taste. I don't like all the top guys that got up there. I'm gonna take Tavares out because he's older. Like, he's the one I'd want the least. Now, I do think he might have been playing injured, but still, like, this isn't the first year he's been like that. However, from a flat out value perspective, you have to take that deal all day long. You're not giving up anything. You're getting potentially a top 10 player. Like, I mean, a center that you need, a position you need. Like, I mean, I don't get it for the Sharks either, but I mean, if I'm Toronto and I have to move Marner, the only way he goes in that deal is if things are completely on fire in Toronto and he has to get out and everybody knows he has to get out. And even then, I still think they get more than that. If they're moving him and they're just like, we just need to change things up here, and they're moving him they're the ones who are bringing in a true defenseman. They need that more than anything. Yeah, Lawton makes sense for them. I definitely agree with that. But they got to get like a top flight defenseman, particularly on the defensive end, defensive defenseman. Excuse me. Sorry. So like there's so many other options that would be explored before they be anywhere near close to having to do a deal like that. And then there's outside factors as well. That trade to me, I don't know where I know it was posted. I read it. I don't know where that guy's from, but to me, it's almost like a Philly guy posted that or a San Jose guy posted that. So the Toronto guy, there is no way in hell. They're like, that's it for Marner. Look, say what you will about the playoffs, but the guy does put up points. He is very skilled and talented. You have issues with his compete, so do I, but you cannot deny the talent. Look, I see this comment here, and this is definitely totally agree. But when it comes from a talent perspective, these guys, can you imagine Marner playing with Michkov? Holy shit. No. Like, holy shit. It's not even, it's really, I know it was put up on Twitter, but there is just, to me, there's no levity to it at all. Like, there is just no way. There's
So I
way
didn't see
too
who
talented.
made it, but it was on Sportsnet. So it was a pretty reputable network, but I didn't see specifically who came up with the trade. Like it was,
Yeah, it sounds
you know
like
what I
very
mean?
fan. It sounds like very Sharks fan or some kind of Flyers fan because
I think it was
Toronto.
Canadian based.
That's incredible. Like
Yeah.
because Toronto would get absolutely hosed. Like the city would march on the stadium. Like that's just ridiculous. That's such bad return for him. You know, I
Well,
mean,
that's the
look,
only reason I took it serious. Because if it was a Philly or San Jose, I'm like, oh, of course you would want to do that, right?
well, maybe it's a Montreal guy then because they hate each other. So I mean, but I just
Could have been.
I mean they overanalyze much like we do here, but like everything they do, they're like the Yankees. You know, they're the top tier team. If they were to do something that like lose a trade that badly, the amount of backlash that organization would face, holy shit. And say what you will about the guy. I get it, but like value wise, no chance. Just no chance.
Yeah, it would. And there's some good comments going here. Torts isn't remotely going to put up with Marner shit. And see, that's kind of, I would want to see that dynamic.
I think they would move
You
on
know?
from Torts if they could get a deal like that from Marner. Like, look, this is the rebuild. The rebuild, Marner. Sorry, you know, like I just that kind of value to bring in a player of that caliber and not what. So what did the Flyers lose? Bonk and Lawton. Come on, that's
Yeah.
it. Like Jesus Christ, that's
Keep
a
all your
fucking
draft
pipe
picks.
dream. Oh my God,
Marner's 27.
you could add 2 first-round picks to that and still not get Marner. And again, he's only got 1 year, but I would assume that he would be extended. They're also paying him a shitload of money too, but still, like, there's just no chance.
So when I saw that trade, the first thing I thought was, oh, what's going on? Like, is there word now that there might not be a future for Mitch Marner in Toronto? And because like once that gets around the league, like we know how the Flyers kept everything quiet with Gauthier. Once it gets around the league that, hey, Marner's not going to be long for Toronto. You know what I mean? You're not going to have to give up 2 and 3 and 4 ones or whatever it is. Like you maybe can get away with something like this. You know, and you know what I love, Jack, is that it's just universal. Like the entire comment section is like, no, we don't want Mitch Marner.
Well, because when the deals we were being offered, like Konechny and whatever, like a legitimate trade, all of us collectively were like, no. But like to not even touch your core, I guess if you consider Bonk part of your core and acquire a player like that, you cannot say no to that. But again, it's not a real scenario. This isn't happening. Like
This is a star player.
It truly is. And you'll try to make things work. And maybe he does need a guy like Torts. I don't know. But like, it's not like he's a star guy putting up all these points and the team doesn't even sniff the playoffs. Like he's still a very talented guy. I've a lot of issues with him. Don't get me wrong, but you're asking me what the trade is. And I get your point. Like, okay, maybe he's out of here. As Vineet pointed out here, he's got a full no trade clause. So if he doesn't want to go, he doesn't have to. So then you want to, if you're going to give up, well, I guess with those assets, you're definitely not looking at a deal coming with that because it's too little. Like, but you're going to give up Bonk for a rental and take a risk at signing him?
I would. Yeah, I wouldn't care. I'm not as high on Bonk as everybody else.
Woo!
I'd be fine with that.
But that just goes against the rebuild rules right there. You can't.
It does. It does. Yeah.
At least you admit it. Yeah. So I
but
mean,
I'd be okay with that.
Dice. That is rolling the dice. You got balls, my friend. Nobody ever say Jimmy Ike didn't have balls.
Yeah, I'm just I'm not like I mean I keep saying it like I don't like Bonk, but I'm just not as high on him like everyone else is. You know, I see the points and I'm like, well, how's he scoring these points? He's not going to score them the same way in the NHL. So what is he? What's he going to be?
Well, maybe he can be a net funds presence guy, Jim. You know, if he can play anywhere on the power play, and the Flyers need power play help. But
that's it.
I just feel like I think the pick at the time got some hate because of the other players available, like Perot, for example, that were still available. Yeah, I didn't. I was a little upset. I was like, of the
Perot?
guys event. Go ahead.
He went after, right? Perot went after
Yeah,
the pick.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, come
It
on.
was there was a couple guys that I think Musty was still available. Like there was like 5 names, but they were forwards, but they were all available that we all wanted. The draft had been going great, obviously, at that point. We were one of them to trade up. Who was the player that I wanted that Chicago got at like 19 or something? You remember
Yeah, I know you mean. I
scoring
can't
winger?
remember his name now.
I wanted them to. Yeah, I
faster
can't.
guy,
Once he went to another team, it's like I don't care anymore. But like, I wanted them, the Flyers, to trade up for him. I'm like, you know what? We're still going to get somebody. I see that a lot. I see that Cutter stuff a lot. That's funny, but it's probably some truth to it too. The whole BC stuff. Oliver Moore, Vinny's on fire. Yeah, Oliver Moore. Remember, I was like, when the 2 months before the draft, I'm like, they could take him at 7, like, and obviously he fell, but I think he didn't go to like 20 in Chicago. And the Flyers were right there. I wanted them to trade up, but my point is, there was like 5-6 names available, and they went bonk. Now, yeah, you know me. First round, you draft best player available. They clearly went for need. It doesn't mean it's a bad pick because we don't know how these guys are ultimately going to pan out. So with that being said, he's shown in his 1 year post-draft, he's a better defenseman overall than we thought he was. And he's shown this other aspect of his game that nobody knew he had. Now, no, we're not expecting him to do that in the NHL, but the fact that he can score, has a bit of a scoring touch, it's just a nice little secondary thing to a defensive profile that we like. So I'm not saying he's the next big thing or anything like that, but I do like him, and I do like that he's in the cupboard, because there's we have a lot of defensemen, but how many of these defensemen we have can you identify as people that you truly see being on the Flyers going forward? Ristolainen, I expect to be gone. You got York, you got Sanheim, you got who the hell knows with Drysdale. Look, it's way too early to be out on him, but that's a risky proposition. The guy can't stay healthy. I wouldn't give him a very good grade this year. I mean, he was hurt again, but his development was stunted with what they did in Anaheim. So can it be salvaged? Flyers think so. I think so. He's young enough, but there's a lot of risk there. I don't think Zamula is a part of the future. We'll see what Andre. I like Andre a lot, but he's got to get up here and play. Giddings leaving. Not that he was anything to drive home about. Addard, come on. Are we really hanging on to Addard here? So like, I'm now who's next? Who am I missing? Ristolainen is not a part of the future. Sealer's not truly a part of the future. I mean, maybe they don't have as many defensemen as we think. So I'm not so quick to want to trade Bonk.
Got a couple comments here. This was from Vinny, I think, in reference to Oliver Moore. So we're talking about 2 Olivers.
Well, good. I hope that's the case.
Moore he started out slow, but he finished, I think, 33 points in 39 games. So he got it going. But yeah, he was off to a rough start.
Here we go. Look how he follows that up. Oh, I think we hit the same comment.
Yeah. If you read Bonk's draft profile leading up to the draft, it reads very similar to the one that Noah Dobson had. That would be a dream outcome. And yeah, it would. It would.
Remember how bad I wanted him, the Farabee draft? Like he was hit. I think actually everybody that the Islanders took, I wanted, although I don't think Wallstrom hit at all. But Dobson did. And Hellsgrons is the other one, as Ty Shelton points out. Your boy. I think that's how it's pronounced. Hellsgrons?
Helge Grans.
Helge Grans, yeah. So, I mean, what can you say about him? I feel like I'm missing at least one other name, but like there's none of the names suggested strike me as, definitely going to be here in the NHL. He's going to be part of the future. As far as I'm concerned, it's Drysdale, York, Sanheim, and when we're like trying to go for the cup, who else you got? Andre, I do hold him in high regard, but like, well, who else? Like, I think you can't be, unless it's for a ridiculous trade like this for, Marner. I'm not.
Well, this is kind of where I'm at. Like, they got
a lot of
horses.
You would trade him without it signing. That's where I'm like,
They got a lot of horses in the stable, and not all these guys can play. So,
they should definitely move. Yeah, they should make some moves.
So I'm like, who's kind of outplaying what you thought they were going to be, or, because I mean, the scouts that scout these guys don't just look at the stat sheet and are like, oh, we got to trade for this guy. You know what I mean? Oh, and so
There's
Benit
your
makes
boy.
another great point
Is your
because if
boy.
the Flyers are picking where they're picking at 12,
Your other boy, I should say.
this is yeah. So I want Zeev Bouillon, but if Carter Yakimchuk's there at 12, you take him, and now you can seriously start to think about moving the guy, right? Because Yakimchuk's another right-handed shot. You have Bonk's a right-handed shot. They're playing Sanheim on the right. Does he go back to the left side? Tortorella said he likes him better on the right, but I'm not sure if that's just because they had a lack of, skilled right-handed players. So we'll see, man. You heard the Eagles were a quarterback factory. Maybe the Flyers are a right-handed defenseman factory. Like, these are coveted positions, So, if they stock up on one, maybe they can end up filling a void at center somewhere down the line. And then that's the thing with this Marner trade, like, because Marner's a wing, right? So it's like, do you really want to move one of your best assets or two of your best assets for a guy that's not a position of need? A player that's going to make more than Travis Konechny, and will he sign here number 2? Who knows? We'll see. I just thought it was an interesting trade to bring up. There's a lot to discuss there, obviously. And if you do bring in Marner, there's no way that Travis Konechny is going to be here. So what happens then? Yeah. It's just a lot. It's a lot to shake up for one guy, and they have their locker room straightened out. They have the culture straightened out, all of a sudden. So, bringing in a guy like Marner, moving out a guy like Lawton would probably piss a lot of people in that room off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, complete opposite guys.
That's a good point. I'll give you that one. Yeah, I don't know how. I guess you'll have to move on from certain people, but at the end of the day, it's about talent. But that's a good point. I'll give you that one.
A lot of Yzerman talking here.
Well,
considered talent.
He's a top 5 talent. That's not gonna. He's gonna fall out of the top 5. So potentially top 10. I see a lot of the Devils are. A couple of the different mocks I've seen. I got to look up more post lottery mocks. By the way, is this the first lottery where nothing changed?
Yeah, and kind of thank God, right? Like the Penguins are in it. So
yeah. Well, I'm really glad Chicago didn't get the first pick, but I'm also really glad the Ducks didn't. Nobody was talking about that. I was like, I do not want Celebrini and Gauthier playing together because they'll be definitely moving the wing at that point.
Dude, I still think he's moving to wing. That son of a B. He's not a center. He just can't. He doesn't play the middle of the ice. Like, he's just not a center the way he plays.
He's not a center. He's not a winger. He's just a bitch. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have. So they didn't end up getting Celebrini Anaheim, right? But they would have had Celebrini and who's the guy that they just drafted, Leo Carlson. So yeah, you're right. He definitely wouldn't have been a center. Yeah. But anyways, San Jose, man, like, I'm really jealous of how things worked out for them. And as much as I was against tanking, now I've kind of I've embraced, if you're going to suck, like, okay, at least get a good player out of it. I'm still against it, but San Jose played it perfect, man. To get Will Smith last year, who, wasn't crazy for, ended up having a really solid season with Boston College, as kind of everybody did on that team. And then this year, the very next season, they go out and get Macklin Celebrini, who's going to probably be their top line guy. So now their top 2 centers, Celebrini, Will Smith. Flyers are still trotting out Morgan Frost and whoever the hell else. So a little jealous of San Jose.
Yeah, screw them.
Yeah, screw them. All right, let's. So, Paul, if you're still in the comments here, I want to see if you can elaborate on this a little bit more, because I'm wondering if everyone's seeing like the goal totals from Yzerman and maybe aren't really watching him, because that's kind of what that's saying to me here with Paul's comment.
Well, Wahlstrom was, if you can call him a bust now, you know who he's referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and he's a guy, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that line in college was Jack Hughes, Wahlstrom, and Farabee, I think. I always confuse the center because I feel like, I'm not sure, but we got like the third guy on that line, whatever that line was. But Wahlstrom was supposed to be like, the top winger. And I believe the Islanders took him before Dobson. They might have had back-to-back picks, so it might not have mattered. But he has been a no-show as far as I'm concerned. And guys like Yzerman make me nervous for that exact reason. You do all this stuff in college or juniors, and you just can't pull it together in the NHL. You don't have the talent. And it's very boomer bust. And we cannot afford a boomer bust with where we're at. We have to hit. And I know Yzerman's he's another. Well, first off, he's a winger, correct?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Left wing. He's listed as a left wing.
So do you really see that? And I know like Iginla's a name people like, but do you really see the Flyers taking a winger in this draft outside of moving some mountains with, trades before or after the draft? Do you really think they're going to go winger, or maybe they just go best player available? It happens to be a winger. Do you really think they're going to do that? Because I think they're going to go defenseman.
See, that's what I mean. I hope not.
If they stay put.
To where they're picking, there's not a guy that I'm like, gotta have him. So for me, then it comes down to get the most premium position player at 12, right? Yeah. This way, if you want to pop them in a trade in the future, you're going, okay, I'm sending you a big right-handed defenseman with a bomb shot instead of, a dime a dozen winger over here, because everyone's got top 6 wingers, I think. You know what I mean? And it's not to put any of these guys down, but it's a premium position that they'd be drafting as opposed to just another right wing, left wing. Like the Flyers have had wings for the past decade, and they've sucked for the past decade. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to wings, but it's just where it is. Oh, here we go. Paul's chiming in with this follow-up. Yzerman's goal scoring is absolutely awesome, truly one of the best in recent drafts, but there's so many other warts that an outcome like Wahlstrom is just as likely, if not more, as him hitting big. All right, it sounds like...
Just to piggyback to that, I read a lot of what I read about him. It's like, hopefully, if he's drafted by this team, like the Devils, what I was reading, guys like Jack Hughes and whoever else could make up for his defensive liability. Like you're already talking about his liabilities, and that typically in the NHL is going to lead to bust potential when you are shooting, you're scoring a lot. So like, can we really risk that at a position we don't need? I get best player available. I parade best player available all the time, but the boomer bust guys like that, I almost want him to be available when we're picking to like, I don't know, swing a trade or something. Like I'm not a big fan of trading down, but you can get really creative. It's possible. So I really don't know. It's a lot of risk. It's almost too much. No, that's the point. They were saying that's that. I mean, he's good. He's better. It's like, what was the word they used? It wasn't good. It was like competent, cause that's how much Yzerman is all about, the offense and giving up every other aspect, not every other aspect, but a lot of other aspects of his game. And it's like, do you really, we talked about Marner and Torts. How do you think that's going to go with Torts?
I don't know.
I know he's not the future, but
I'll be honest. I haven't watched a second of Yzerman. But it's just,
see what Paul just said. I hate that. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, you hear the stuff about him and it's like, well, why would I be excited about a kid where,
I don't. It's almost like what you and Will Smith last year. Let somebody else worry about it. Let somebody else. I hope he goes before we draft. Honestly, I mean, somebody that we can really use will be available for us. As exciting as he can be, and we could be wrong. Let somebody else roll the dice.
Yeah, pretty much. It looks like Berkeley Catton has made his way into the chat here.
Now, is this the center that you said should most likely be a winger, or he's better off as a winger?
I see a winger when I see him play, yeah. So Vinny chimes in. I heard Matt Barzal. How do you say his last name? Why can't
I always say Barzal. I've always said since his draft
Barzal. So comps for Catton. I would rather take him over Yzerman. And Vegas Woe chimes in. I saw a mock with Catton at number 5. So
look,
this guy's a really fun player to watch. It's just when I watch him, and even when he played the last 10 games of the season, he split. I think he played like 5 games at center and like 5 games at left wing, right wing, whatever it was. Like he's not a pure center. When you watch him play, it's like, I don't know if if the way he plays, I don't know if it's going to translate to the NHL as a center.
Yeah, and those are some concerns. Don't try to square peg round hole because you have a need. It's going to be interesting. Like you mentioned, seeing this guy Canton at 5. The NHL just released a mock draft like 8 hours ago that had Demidov at 5. Weren't you just saying how should go Celebrini then Demidov? Like after Celebrini, I know who I like, but I don't know how it's going to go. I mean, I guess we'll have more of a clearer picture when we're ready to draft, but it could get interesting. I hope they're ready to potentially move up. They might get lucky if they play this right. They played last year's right for sure, so we'll see.
There's going to be some risers and fallers, and I think Craig Button put out I think it was Craig Button. It was either Craig Button or Bob McKenzie. I have to go back and look. I think it was Craig Button. Has the Flyers taking a Jet? Hang on. Jet Luchenko I think his last name is. 1 second. Because I haven't watched a second of Jet Luchenko.
What a name.
Yeah, it is Jet Luchenko.
He better be fast.
So he's listed 5'11", 185 on Hockey DB. Played for the Guelph Storm this year in the OHL, 74 points in 68 games, 20 goals, 54 assists, and he is a center, 17-year-old center. 3 assists in 4 playoff games this year. I think I saw some scouting pundits had him going in the 20s, some even early second round. But this is a guy that we might want to watch a little bit or read up on a little bit. It's I think somebody said something or like, remember when the Flyers took Cutter, like he wasn't supposed to go 5 overall. The Flyers just went and got their guy. I'm wondering if something like that happens here, like because Button had to know something for him to do that. You know what I mean? At least that's what I'm assuming. But Jet Luchenko, unless they're just going for the coolest name in the draft every year.
I just looked at a mock and didn't even see the guy. So, oh, great.
Ooh. Benit knows him, it looks like. Luchenko is another Scott Lawton.
At 12, come on.
Yeah, interesting. So, Benit also. Craig Button's horrible. He loved the German Rubstov pick, and he thinks that Demidov is better than Michkov. That's it. Totally discredited after that. All right, forget about it. Yeah, okay. All right, Jack. So I don't know if you have a list of prospects in front of you by any chance. And I know it's early, but it's also going to get late quick. Like we're in early May. The draft is in the last week of June. So we have almost 2 months, a month and a half, we'll say, to start nailing some mocks, getting the Flyers picks ready. I'm on just NHL Draft. I think it's Tankathon, actually, the draft prospect rankings here. And I'll just read off 11, 12, 13. So TJ Ginla goes 11, 47 goals in 64 games in the WHL for Kelowna this year. Consta Helenius, who's listed as a center / right wing, 5'11", 181, is going 12, or he's the 12th ranked prospect, according to Tankathon, of all things I'm using. And Carter Yakimchuk is 13. So, look, I'd be okay with any of those 3 players. The guy that I want of those 3 would be Yakimchuk, though. I think. Yeah. What about you, Jack?
No, I right-handed defenseman. We can add more defensemen. I'd rather do that than roll the dice on Yzerman, honestly. I think we do need more defensemen because we don't have that top pairing guy, true top pairing guy. We got to keep trying. Ultimately, I don't know how they do this or when they do this. I expect there to be some trades, not so much at the draft, more so referring to Danny's offseason, based on how things have gone, based on decisions that need to be made. There's been a lot of, discussion about Farabee, plethora of wings. I'm expecting some movement that could change things, open things up, and change our minds. So hopefully some of those things happen that could make this a clearer picture. But if there's nothing until we're picking 12th, I would love some of the players, defensive players you've named. I mean, if they ultimately did take Yzerman, which is a pick I just saw in a mock them taken, I can talk myself into getting over it. I just right now today I have issues with it. It's going to be interesting. Part of me is hoping somebody drops. Just one guy. One guy's got to fall. There's a lot of names that are all over the place. That means one guy can sneak through the cracks a little bit, gets closer to striking distance. Maybe they could swing something. We'll see what Danny's got. It's not going to be easy. So they came away with a defenseman like Yamachuk. I would be completely fine with that. I think that would be a good pick, but we'll see.
Yeah, he's my kind of player. You know, big dude, NHL frame, hulking dude with a shot. I mean, think about it. Aside from Ristolainen, who is that on the Flyers? They don't really have a guy like that. You know, it would take them a little bit to get up here, but the way the Flyers defense is structured, they don't have to rush them. You know, they can actually develop these guys and really produce. Amadeo chimes in. Yzerman, Catton, or bust, and scroll up the chat, dude. That's the only two names that we're seeing in here. Yeah, it's interesting. What it says to me is, you know, at least Catton is not a vanilla player. He's a lot of fun to watch. Yzerman, I have to question if people actually watch him. You know, I just, you know, that's all. They seem to be the consensus names going around, though, which, yeah, is fine. Good to see Kenny G back in the chat here. Vegas, whoa, yeah, Button's been stealing drinks from Bobby Margarita. That's, I guess, in reference to the Jet. And then you had Paul coming up next.
I love
Not
it.
even
Any
Chuck
reference
was
to
taking
Chuck
that
is
12.
great.
Yeah. I mean, it's that time of year. It's going to be fun. You know, we're going to have some great guests coming on to talk draft and prospects and whatnot. Do we have anything that we wanted to bring up before we end the show here? We talked draft. We talked playoffs.
Draft playoffs.
We talked Michkov deadlifting.
Yep. There's been some speculation, but I haven't heard about trades, but none of that has picked up that I know of. It's a little quiet right now.
Yeah.
On the Flyers front.
And that's kind of weird. We did say we were going to give away a shirt. Let me just grab it real quick, Jack. Hang on.
Ooh. Giving away free shit. I didn't know about that. All right. Who are the contestants?
So I got a bunch of shirts here, guys. And if you follow us on Twitter or you follow us on Facebook, retweet the show. Make sure I follow up and look and see who's retweeted. But we're going to give away one of these bad boys. A Barry Melrose tee. One of the Butchergross tees that he's giving out. It's a really nice t-shirt. Tag's still on. See, I'm not wearing these things out and giving them out. Not that anybody thought that, but
I was going to say, have you been accused of that?
Nah. These things they're nice and soft. Great shirts. So anybody who's in the comment, I'll take names down. The one thing I'm going to ask you guys to do, give the show a retweet, or if you're on Facebook, give it a share. I'll go back and check, and we'll give away the t-shirt. I'll shoot you a DM. Just make sure they're open, and I'll just need your address, and I'll mail you out a damn shirt. Pretty cool. So yeah, I'm loving the conversation in the comments. I don't even know. I know your allergies are probably taking you out over there, Jack, but we've got a good Catton and Zach Benson going over here. There's going to be many more times to discuss prospects. So did you want to bring up anything else?
I wish I had something. Just a little on the quiet side. Yeah. My son, I took him to his first Phillies game today. It was awesome.
Oh, congrats. That's awesome.
Right, bro. I didn't see Hartnell like everybody else did, but I did walk right by Cam Atkinson and his family. I was like, I know that guy. Oh, and my dad saw Sean Couturier at my son's soccer practice. My dad's like, there is no way in hell he's 6'5". My dad's like, I'm 6 foot. He was the same size as me, maybe a half inch. And he's a string bean. And I was just like, oh, I don't know what to tell you. I know maybe that's with skates, and then they bump him up a few notches on top of that. He goes, yeah, no, there's no way.
This is what I've been saying. If a guy's listed 5'10", 5'11", he's probably 5'8".
Look, I said all I said was, were there crutches or any kind of back brace? And he said, I cannot confirm or deny. All right.
I remember standing next to I think Konechny's listed 5'10", 5'11", and that's what I am. And I was at least a whole head taller than Konechny. So I'm like, these aren't right.
No.
There ain't no way he's 5'11". But anyways, all right, boys and girls. We're going to wrap this up. Everybody, thanks for joining in the chat. We're back to our original night of Wednesdays. We're still working out the whole subscription thing and when we're going to do a second episode, but it's coming. And when we see the familiar names in here week after week, it only, it gives us hope and encourages us to do more cool things in the future. So one last time, give us a subscribe and a follow. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Set alerts for weekly shows and favorite hoo.be/hockey. A lot of merch where we can sell you guys. So check out that link there. Check out the merch part. Head over to hwhockey.net for all of our latest episodes and articles. And if you're on Instagram, go give me a follow, Jim Ike, HW. You can watch the show on Instagram now or whatever the hell you guys do. You scroll. We're on there. So give us a watch or a follow at the very least. So, yeah, that's going to do it for the night. We'll be back next week. I don't know. Maybe we're talking about Michkov doing sit-ups, push-ups or something. Definitely more draft talk and playoff talk. So thank you for everybody for taking the time to hang out with us. We'll be back next week. Bye-bye.